Dun, dun, dun. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to part 2 of our season 2 look back of Agent Carter. Very excited to dive into the back half of the season this week. We're going to kind of get straight into things, but let's start things off with our introductions. As usual, we're going to start the other direction around with the lovely lady right here underneath me, Agent Corey herself, Corey Shoemaker.
Hey guys, glad to be here again. Excited to finish up Agent Carter season 2. I'm even wearing my merch, Agent Carter t-shirt, because last time to wear it. So
excellent. Of course, we're rounding the corner right there. The man we love so much, Don Willie.
Greetings, everyone. Glad to be back for another roundup of Agent Carter. Damn you, Feige, bring back the show.
Yes.
We can keep our fingers crossed. Disney Plus needs content, right? And let us know all about that. Of course, rounding things off from Smirking Gun Reviews, Rob Stone.
What's up, everybody? Corey, Agent Williams, Feige, do we really need more Mighty Ducks? Do we need a show with John Stamos? No. We need more Agent Carter, okay? That's what we need. That and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So let's talk about this. Let's finally top this off and talk about where this show could have gone,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. There are a lot of places, and they sort of leave off in some good little hints and directions there. But before we jump into things, I do want to, of course, thank everyone joining us live in the chat, everyone joining us in the archive, and to remind you, next week we are kicking things off with our Loki reviews. Same time, same channel. 6 p.m. on Thursday. So you get you a full day of watching your Loki before you jump in with the gang here. And we dive into all of the magic that is being presented to us.
All the reindeer games. All of the reindeer games.
All of them. And I am hoping that they go as mind and time warpy as they can. That's really what I'm looking forward to. All right. So last week we kind of went through all of our main characters and everything, a bit of the arcs there. We kicked off the first couple of episodes, which just sort of set the mood for us, introduced, really let Whitney Frost come into her own, be fully introduced as the genius scientist that she is. We get some danger. We've got all that set up. So I think really these last 6 episodes, starting with the atomic job, is really when the momentum kind of kicks up, and it's almost like a nonstop go from there onward. So let's talk about the atomic job. Of course, that is episode 5 of the series. We've just lost Rufus, who was absorbed by Whitney to show her strengths. Her husband, of course, a little discomforted by her actions. And of course, Wilkes is, John in the lab trying to figure out how to get himself back. So that's sort of where we kick things off with the atomic job. And really, I think it is Wilkes and Peggy, as Wilkes pulls her down to show her something he has discovered about the dark matter. Rob, why don't you kick us off with your thoughts on the atomic job, Wilkes things, and sort of walk us through what you thought of the episode.
Well, I like seeing a heist episode. I like seeing them put together their little ragtag team. Where you got Rose and you got Samberly, and everybody gets involved. Things and in typical heist fashion, right? Things don't go right and unexpected things happen. And I really loved Jarvis in this, him, to be the one to have to do the really complicated stuff, looking for validation too, hey, I did all this. But for me, the 2 highlights in this episode are Ray Weiss, who keeps getting, it's funny to say he gets his mind erased here since I got my neuralizer here. And just the comedy that's in here, and her, just having to keep doing it and doing it and doing it and thinking about the damage really that could be actually being done to this man. Not that we care because he's a bad guy, but just also in the comedic delivery of Ray Weiss, who's usually a heavy, and he's a heavy in this, but you don't really take him as seriously as like a Leland Palmer or like the bad guy from RoboCop. You know, like this is more like 50s, like, you know, kind of style stuff. So the bad guys are kind of still got a little bit of a sense of humor. And so every time it's like kind of like just like a little sketch of, I remember you. It just keeps coming back. Oh, yeah. And just the more and more that she does that. But the other one is also Ken Marino, who's mostly, you know, known for like a lot of a lot of sketch comedy, a lot of like he guest stars in a lot of things. He was on that show, The State, way back in the 90s on MTV. And here he is, playing the mobster in this. And at first I wasn't sure I was going to like it because all I see is Ken Marino. But I just really liked the fun and energy he brought to this guy who he's always kind of joking around. And then all of a sudden he comes out, you know, just turns brutal. And that's what got me was like he's that kind of sunny side to this person who just can turn on a dime and suddenly you have to take him seriously. Those were the two main things that are the two main characters that I really liked about this, other than the heist part. The only other I liked that they had kind of Rose and Samberly kind of romancing a little bit. It felt a little again like, okay, we're going to add another romance to this show. But mostly what I liked was Rose being a badass, like this secret badass that all of a sudden she's just like can, you know, take people out, and I really, really enjoyed that. And she's, you know, a lot of times these kind of characters are for comic relief, and she wasn't comic relief. She was like, she proves like that she is capable, just like Peggy, and I like that. That we are not relegating any of our female characters to stereotypes.
Yeah.
So that's what I have about that episode.
Oh no, perfect. And yeah, I couldn't agree more with the Ray Wise bit. It's honestly one of my favorite parts in all of season 2 for the little comedy bits. And you're right, it's his timing where he's just agent and just repeating it. You can see each of the little steps, and it's totally goofy, and you've got to have someone really of that caliber who's been around for so long to be able to get in and make those kind of like character statements and get the timing right and just make that whole moment, you know, kind of a fun and enjoyable, you know, again, the part of the heist job where we want to have those moments. Yeah. No. Excellent done. And you're right. I love, that's the nice thing they did with Rose throughout all of this is, yeah, she's the person at the door. She's going to be stopping anyone going in. She has to be tougher than she looks. And they keep her so sweet through much of this, whether she's playing, you know, manipulating, working Aloysius a little bit, or later on in scenes with Jarvis and Anna. I mean, it really is. She's really some great choices on that one. Don, any thoughts on the atomic job or the moments in there, things that grab out for you?
Well, listen, you know, the fight between Peggy and Whitney, you know, here, you know, Peggy didn't know about Whitney's actual power. So she's just, you know, going and doing the regular thing that she normally would, and then she gets touched and it's like, holy cow, you know, what is this that is going on here? And obviously things looked dire for her at the end. She got, you know, rebar sticking through her abdomen, and that, you know, obviously that's not good. But, you know, then you got the whole thing with Samberly, you know, trying to prove his worth, and he really didn't get the credit that he deserved through the whole series. It's kind of like, dude, without him, you're not able to do probably 3/4 of the things that you need to get done. And it's just like, yeah, okay, can you do this? All right, we'll get it done already. God damn it! You're just like, can I get a thank you at least once? Just one thank you.
He's like the proto fit.
Yeah, whatever, guy. Did you get the door open yet? Hold on. I just got it. Oh, no, that didn't do it. Wait, this is very complicated. All right, we'll get it done. Jarvis looking ultra nervous, which I mean, like, yeah, you're removing uranium rods from an atomic weapon. Yeah, it's like, hey, don't drop that, because we don't all want to die right now. So yeah, there were many standout moments in this one. Joseph Manfredi. It's like, yeah, listen, I know this isn't like your regular facilities here. Oh no, that's later on. This is the one where they break in. Yeah. So yeah, him with his goons. But listen, Rose kicking ass. Rose kicking ass was awesome. Just like, oh, hey, excuse me. Loved it. So yeah, I can't, I can't say enough about it, but I don't want to hog up the time, so I will turn it over to Agent Corey.
Yes, indeed, Corey. What was your take on all of this? And by the way, Dodd, you're right. They always got to have the scientist in there, and you can't have Stark. And so it's like, okay, and Wilkes is only part-time, so yeah, the almost scientist. A little more fun with that. Yeah, Corey?
I feel like Aloysius was the proto Fitz, like the precursor to Fitz and Simmons.
Yeah.
He comes in kind of awkward and nervous and not really self-confident, and hopefully, I mean, it would have been nice to see 2 or 3 seasons down the road what he could have become. But I do love how they touch on, it seems like all of the guys who are involved in science of some kind are constantly searching for validation. Like Wilkes, his song is I Want to Be Loved, which could be like personal as opposed to like appreciated for his work, right? Sure. Howard is constantly like, look at me, and Samberly, Aloysius Samberly, like what a name, right? He's always complaining about nobody appreciates him. And I felt the most sorry for his character, because I feel like I can kind of relate to where he's coming from, because we've all, at least I have, been that last person that was picked for the soccer team in elementary school. They're like, don't pick her, she doesn't run fast, or don't pick him, he won't help with the, whatever. So sure. I feel like Sam really just wanted someone to see what he was doing and appreciate it. Like, that's all he wanted. And the whole season, he's searching for that. And
well, in some ways, it's the confidence that being with the group and doing the job, and the support from first Rose and then Peggy, and even Stark to an extent later on. Once they believe in him, he blossoms.
Yeah. So, and I love that we kind of see a little bit of a background to where that doubt for his character came from. And he has this line where he says, "My father was right, I'll never be able to do this." And then Rose replies, "You're the smartest person in the room, you've got this." And so it was so neat to see that little sweet moment of, obviously his lack of confidence comes from a father who never believed in him.
Sure.
And then Rose comes along, it's like, no. And I mean, part of that could be, my internet cut out.
There we go. That's all right. We hear you, so you can keep going, and the video should hopefully catch up with you. What? No, folks, see, unfortunately, we get stuck with technical issues. There we go. There we go. You're back.
I was like, is anybody there? Everything went black. All the screens went black. Anyway, I was just saying that it was nice to see how Rose could be that kind of support network, so similar to how Jarvis is a support network. Mm-hmm. And we lost again.
That's all right. The video
Oh,
freezes,
dear.
but we usually still hear you.
I lost the
See, that's
screens again.
there you go. See, I can still hear you. You just
I'll
have
just wait
you just
and
got that
hopefully
little
everything comes back.
frozen bit. Yeah. There we go.
Okay. Sorry again, Hydra. Anyway, it was nice to see those two as like a support group, similar to Jarvis and Peggy and whatnot.
Mhm.
Proposal. Daniel proposes in this episode, and it's as hilarious and adorable as I expected it to be, because he loses the ring in the couch.
Sure.
Which was bad for him, but great for the like cutesy comedic moment. And how he had it all planned in his head of how great it was going to go, and then it didn't involve him losing the ring in the middle of the couch cushions. So,
yeah, this is definitely kind of the arc bit for that relationship, because we have both the kind of the highs and the lows in the midst of this one.
I mean, it would have made an adorably cute, this is how your father proposed kind of story.
It would have been, yeah, indeed.
But we're sort of seeing that hint that this probably isn't a relationship that's going to work out for Daniel. And I love that we see how Violet is just so sweet about everything. Like she's kind of like an Anna in a way. You know, she's not upset. She's like, it's okay. Well, then we'll just look for it. Like it's got to be here somewhere. So, I mean, that made me really love those two as a couple and feel a bit sad that we know it's not going to work out. But,
yeah, it's one of those where I almost wish they really had gone at, so it kind of would have taken the pressure, because otherwise, yeah, you just have that romantic pressure and I don't know. It's a distraction, especially because it ends with, sorry, we're jumping ahead, one kiss, and then apparently they break up. I'm having my audio afterwards.
Here. Oh man, again.
Yeah, no. You look.
I just lost video again for all of you guys. So
all of our small shows, folks, are cursed back with internet issues.
Mute. I forgot I was muted. See, there's all those little things that happen. We've all experienced some level of technical difficulties throughout these episodes, throughout all the times we've been doing this since Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 7.
Oh, God.
Oh goodness.
So we understand this is, and in fact, we should talk about that just for a second. It's basically been like a year since we started doing these.
It has, hasn't it? Oh yeah, season 7, which is very exciting kind of time. The fans officially covering a whole season there, in the midst of our pandemic. So yeah, that was kind of that's a good reminder. God, I don't know about anybody else, but time is just it's like you're at the edge of a black hole. Is it 1 year? Is it 10 years? I don't know. I can't even think of these things anymore.
Okay, I'm back. Again,
yeah.
Are you all losing contact, or is it just me that's going MIA?
No, we catch you, you freeze, and then we can hear you for a bit. Usually we can still catch the audio on you. We just can't see anything.
Oh dear. Okay,
so,
sorry.
Yeah.
Favorite quotes: Peggy hasn't had a day off since Pearl Harbor. I liked that. And then Freddie's comment about he beats up his guy for looking at a woman disrespectfully. But he egged the guy on to give his feedback of what he thought of Whitney. So that was a bit, yeah. And we also talked about Rose. Like, she passed all her training. She's smart and resourceful. And Sousa doesn't want to put her in the field. And Peggy's like, I'm seeing Daniel Sousa, but I'm hearing Jack Thompson. So I liked that. And yeah, that's basically. Oh, and then music. They picked Bing Crosby, Lay That Pistol Down.
Okay, you can never go wrong with Bing.
Yeah, that was good. Lay that pistol down, mama. Lay that pistol down. Pistol packing mama.
Excellent. Well, and you're right.
Right when they all come out.
Yeah. Now, Don, you had hit on that kind of cool moment is the interchange between Peggy and Whitney, because you're right. This is the first time where she actually sort of encounters that power, which results in the fall in the rebar. It was one of those moments, though, where rewatching it, it was almost like once she kicks Whitney away and falls through. Honestly, I think that should have been the rebar fall, because especially again, I rewatched it. And you look, and she falls really away from camera, and then the only way she could have been gripping the edge is if right as she falls out of flame, she did some sort of pike double twist to catch the edge. And I know you do it because you get that great scene with Whitney, and you get Peggy letting go as opposed to being touched again. So, I mean, you get kind of a cool dramatic moment. But it is one of those little things where it's like, God, was that almost an edit? Where was the choice made in that? But again, we get a cool bit. We get, obviously, Peggy gets wounded. We get the whole kind of realization of emotions going on. And then, of course, we get Wilkes showing up to try and comfort Peggy. And then we get the next shot of what's happening with him as he disappears and is gone or begins to fade away. So episode 6, Life of the Party, where we get now, last episode, we got kind of Hugh Jones, our Ray Wise character, had already popped up before. It is when we really meet Aloysius. It is when we meet Manfredi. We're getting all of our support characters kind of built up on either side. Only one person missing, and you're going to need them for an infiltration when you can't use Peggy.
Yes. So,
of course, this is our return of Dottie Underwood. Kind of in a perfect way. I do appreciate Suze's whole conversation with Peggy when she's laying out this plan of okay, so we got to go down and we got to get the dark matter stuff and we got to do this. We'll infiltrate the party and we got tickets and it'll be me and Jarvis. And Suze is just oh, okay, you who can't walk. Okay, yeah, perfect. And Jarvis, okay, you guys are going to be identified immediately going in there. It's a nice takedown kind of Peggy. And it does give us a really good reason of why you would need someone like Dottie. With the Arena Club so infiltrated in with the SSR, you can't use anyone else. You've already got your Rose. You already got your Aloysius. They're not really built for this, but somebody who can disappear in any realm is Dottie. And, this is why you want someone like that on your side. And also why you can never trust having someone like that on your side. So, Don, let's kick things off with you. Life of the party. We're going to need our undercover Dottie. So, what did you think of all of that? Their choices in bringing her in. And, of course, we get a lot of fun action going on throughout the episode and to the end on this as well.
So obviously, good plan, also a bad plan. Because look, Dottie is always going to do her own thing. And now she's in a very precarious position where she has been disavowed by the Russian government, and she is a prisoner of the SSR, and all she wants to do is murder people. So,
just a little murder.
Peggy has the idea of spraying her and using the nice 1940s gadgets. It was nice with the little magnets she was able to use to open the door. And Peggy knocked out the guard with the kiss, which was very interesting. And then them deciding to go into the party, and where nobody else would have really recognized them, you got to throw Jack in there to throw a monkey wrench. She's like, damn you, Thompson, why can't you drag your ass back to New York already? What are you still doing in Los Angeles? And you've got Vernon Masters, who's mastered being a jerk. But listen, the actor who played him, oh, superb.
Kurtwood Smith is amazing in everything he does.
Yes, indeed, loved him since RoboCop. So it is one of these things where there was so much that was going on, and I don't know if you guys even noticed. There was one scene in there where Vernon and Jack are talking, and Jarvis and Dottie kind of like scoop by them real quick, and if you're not looking, you'll miss it. They just kind of like whiz by them, and like I hadn't noticed it when I originally watched it, but when I was watching it earlier this week, I was like, oh, wow, that was kind of funny. And Jarvis with the glasses, he's up there trying to listen in on everything at the same point.
Abort!
Hilarious. But right when Sousa and Peggy are about to kind of seal the deal, in comes Dottie to throw a monkey wrench into things, or better yet, a body into things. And I'm surprised that she really didn't get on board with Peggy when she saw what Whitney could do. Because, like Dottie is used to being the most dangerous person in just about any situation. And now here she is witnessing someone who is far more dangerous than she could even imagine. And yet she's still like, yeah, but I gotta be me. So yeah, that was kind of interesting to see her whole thing. But okay, am I mistaken? Did Vernon Masters meet Dottie in New York?
I was thinking about that after. I don't think so,
because he seemed to instantly recognize her, and that's why I was kind of like, wait, I don't think they met, but I mean, it's possible, but I don't think that they actually met.
So I was going to say, in the interrogation room, did she look at? But he also, yeah. Okay, thanks, Rob. That's what I thought. Is that in the interrogation room in the beginning? That must have been when he sees her, when he pulls Jack out, and then because she gets pulled out, and Vernon goes in to make all of that. So yeah, he's definitely aware of her.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So great episode. Whitney takes over, and I'm not sure if you guys know this, but Whitney Frost and Joseph Manfredi are actually characters from the comic books.
So I knew Frost was Manfredi. I didn't know. I get mixed up between the Batman gangsters and the Marvel gangsters because there's so many variations.
Joseph Manfredi is not just like a mobster in the comic books, though. He's a character called Blackwing.
Yeah, okay, see. There's so many people, so many characters in Marvel. This is why we need a panel, folks, because not any one of us could remember them all. Corey, what about yourself? What was your take on Life of the Party and Dottie's infiltration of the Arena Club?
I'm having
I was
audio
gonna say,
what was my take on the Life of the Party?
Yes.
Well, I actually, one of the things I noticed that I thought was interesting at the beginning is that Peggy suggests making a containment unit, which I thought maybe was a precursor to the AOS Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
No, see, now we lost her again. Oh yeah. All right. We're gonna hold on that. Rob, why don't you take that, and we'll get to Corey again as soon as she's able to jump in with us.
Oh, she's right. I mean, sounds like that they love to throw in the ideas that are going to become something in the future. But just having this actress back brings so much energy and fun to the series again. Not that it was waning, but just as much as we could say, why or whatever. If this was still an ongoing show, I'd have more like issues where it's like, why did they have to do this or whatever? But knowing now that this is all we got, I would rather have another episode or two with Dottie in it than not. So just her interactions with the group, all her little things that she says to everybody to just kind of drive them like, you're stuck with me, so I'm going to just needle all of you was great. And she's still effective and just a fun character to be around. There's the line that she says that I just love where where Peggy's like, she goes to see her, right? And she's like, considering this will be your home for the foreseeable future, perhaps you just start decorating. And she's like, well, it takes more than 6 walls to hold me. And Peggy's like, 6. And she's like, we're in a cube, Peggy. Try to keep up. That's just such a great line because it's a thinker. Because then you have to go, oh my God, she's really taking it all in. Also, Ray Wise and Kurtwood Smith are both in this, and we keep talking about RoboCop, and they were both in RoboCop together. And then I started going, wait a minute, how many people from RoboCop are in this? And they must really like RoboCop on the Agent Carter set because, yeah, the two of your bad guys, two of the main bad guys in this season are two of the main bad guys in RoboCop, and you can't go much. If you want sleazy bad guys, you go to the crew from RoboCop. You don't get much sleazier than those guys.
If they could have gotten Peter Weller to just walk past in the background,
yeah,
the nerd realm would have just lost it right there. That would have been perfect.
Or like as a cop, have him be like a beat cop that's like, I'm taking you in. Or something.
That may be too much, but even just that scene where you've got Wise and Kurtwood talking to Jack and just be interrupted, even if he just like, excuse me, man, it just went through. That would be, yeah. You ain't gonna get me excited about seeing stuff like that.
I kept waiting for Kurtwood Smith to say he was going to put his foot up somebody's ass. I just wanted that too. Every time I see Kurtwood Smith, I think of that line. I didn't really like that 70s show that much, but I loved him on it.
Well, what if he would have said, I work for Dick Jones? That would have been, oh God.
Guns. Just
Anna Jarvis in this is really good. They're talking about before the mission, and Jarvis is kind of miming the weapons that he should have, whether it's a sword, nunchucks, or a suicide pill. I really like that stuff in there. Thompson coming back is like, yeah, we wish that he would just join the team already and stop being, Vernon's lapdog. I mean, especially since we know where it's going to, and it's like, we just want to get that version of the character, the one that he can be, the one that everybody knows he can be, and he's still like fighting and trying to do his own thing and playing kind of both sides. And because that's the thing about Jack that I didn't really think about until watching season 2 again, was he is trying to do the right thing. He's just trying to do it. He's not wanting to just listen to Peggy. He's not wanting to just listen to Vernon. He wants to be his own man. I think he's taken kind of like what Peggy has said to him in the past about it, but he's still just kind of doing it the way that she sees it as still messed up.
Yeah.
But you start to see inklings of that version of him that will come out later. And then when Whitney takes out, everybody, that's just so great. I mean, I really didn't see it coming. the first time, and since it had been a while since I saw that, I knew her husband was gonna get it, but I didn't know it was gonna be right here. And I just like that she just says, "Forget all this. Like, I don't need any of these guys," and just proves again, just it's all about her. Like she's been taken over by this force that she really is gotten out of control, and she doesn't know it. But she's scary. She is scary, scary, scary. So I don't know. And then with everything with Dottie and her like getting captured was a very interesting wrinkle for the rest of the crew, because now everybody's there's possible consequences for how did she get out, and that, and just looking forward to seeing her go up against Vernon and Thompson again, and all that's just a lot fun to look forward to.
Yeah, I have
and
something
the
to say.
the Sousa and the fiance thing that already just goes put a bullet in that, and it just that's a little annoying because we already knew it wasn't going anywhere. We just had those, and it just again feels like, why did we really need to do all this? But we covered that already, so I'll shut up.
Sorry, I was going to say, I want to say something. I am very excited to see where things are going to be going under your leadership. Love Ray Wise. Okay, now we've got Corey back. All right, Corey.
Hopefully, I changed my web browser, so maybe that'll make a difference.
Okay. Knock on wood. That's
yeah. So what I was saying before I got cut off was that Peggy, at the very beginning of the episode, suggests making a containment unit to help with Dr. Wilkes. Mm-hmm. And I immediately thought, oh, it's the precursor to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. containment unit for Inhumans, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I also like how she describes Dottie as, we need someone who can blend in with the glamour and throw down in the gutter. It's like, yes, that's exactly Dottie. And I mean, as Rob said, like, Anna is adorable in this episode. And I love that you see that she's more than just a sweet character. Like, she's actually has a purpose to serve for the team. So we see that she's, she says every detail matters in art and science. Precision is key. And she's helping Dr. Wilkes build this containment machine. So she's basically become his like lab assistant, which is really neat. What else? I thought it was interesting that the hidden prison where Dottie was being kept it's in a store called Rosemary's, which just made me think of like Rosemary's Baby. And like anything else demonic related is in this prison. You just don't want to go there.
That would make sense. That's a good illusion right there.
Yeah. I love that Dottie pickpockets Jarvis's watch. That was hilarious. And Peggy's like, where's your wristwatch, Jarvis? He's like, it's a wristwatch, Miss Carter. It's on my wrist. Oh, like she's tied up to a chair, and yet Dottie can still pickpocket people. It's just, I love it. Yeah, Vernon Masters again showing up everywhere he doesn't need to be and causing problems everywhere. I also found it interesting that Jack, Vernon sort of speaks down towards Jack about how Peggy is, usurping him and he needs to get her in line. And then as a result, then Jack goes along and starts talking to Jarvis and making jokes about laundry, like, shouldn't you be ironing something somewhere? And it's like this is pecking order of people having a bad experience, passing it on to the next person, passing it on. It's like, no, that's not what you do.
Sure.
But he like tells Jarvis, he's like, you can use baking soda to get those stains out. And you're thinking of the head of the SSR, but you're just being played. You're not really helping. I also like that Peggy and Daniel had a conversation about the frustrations of having like a disability in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. He says something, it's not fun when your body quits on you and you have to put faith in others to get the job done. And when she like pops her stitches and she was all ready to go in and save the day and now she can't, she has to sit down. And I think that's I guess it's a good comment for anybody who's had any kind of medical situation where they're like, man, I'd like to do that, but I just broke my leg and now I'm on crutches. And Daniel knows better than anybody how frustrating it is.
and honestly, I think that's kind of a good move and something that you start establishing more through this season, which again, sadly, as since we don't see a season 3 where I would have loved to see it more, is while it's Agent Carter, she does seem to be like need to be in the center and make all of the big moves, which is different from like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where anybody, because it is more of a team show, anybody can save the day. Anybody can come in with the big moment and do a thing. And especially with that wound, it's nice because it kind of keeps her from like, no, you can't just be the one person doing it all. You have to depend on your team. And that becomes, kind of more necessary as the rest of the season goes by. So I kind of like that little bit of arc of her not having to be like in the center of it all the time.
And thankfully, even though Dottie's taken, she drops the blood vial and Jarvis finds it, picks it up. So at least the whole mission isn't a waste of time. We did get what we came for. And then I just thought it was interesting that Vernon is telling Thompson that he needs to discredit and disgrace Carter. And he's like, you need to find dirt on her and you need to take her down. And Peggy addresses that in a later episode, but it's quite interesting that Jack's approach to dealing with a problem is blackmail. So he's got a long way to go. Let's just say that. Stellar gentleman right there,
Well, that's one thing, Rob, I would say that while I'm with you is that we are constantly waiting for Jack to just be on our team, just be the guy. We see you at the end of season 1 where you could be. Why aren't you just that guy? I do kind of like the fact they use him to play with the upper instruments of power, the political manipulations outside of the agents. It could be an interesting character move for him to learn to be the cover. Hey, I'll be the one that covers you and deals with this stuff. And the fact that he does have to learn it on his own. Through all of this of who we can trust and not trust. While it is frustrating, I kind of like that use of him as a character. I
mean, I think that Jack Thompson could have in future seasons become kind of like the positive Ward character. Like the guy that we know we can send in to do the dirty work, but we can trust him, but he's also kind of like in that gray area of he can do the work that maybe the SSR can't do because we can't be associated with that task. Yeah.
Good point. Okay, so episode 7, Monsters. This is a big one. Now, last episode, we kind of open up with Dottie in jail. Her life is horrible. What's going on? Send him in until Peggy shows up. And it's like immediately life returns to her. And I love that kind of setup. Like she's in, she's ready to go. Now she's captured. And this is the use of the heavy in film and storytelling. Dottie is the heavy for us. And she is used so beautifully between last episode and into this episode to fill that role. We already had a little of a hint before of the other heavy that was introduced, Rufus Hunt, the kind of hitman for the Arena Club, who gets captured by Peggy and they try to torture him or they try to heavy him, convince him to come in. And he just kind of laughs them off because he's been through it all. He's been tortured. He's gone through prison camp. He's, so they let him go and he ends up getting himself killed with Whitney. But it kind of shows the toughness angle there. Well, now we bring in Dottie, who we've already established is tough, doesn't care about anyone, is smarter than anyone around. And through this, we have Vernon trying to torture her, where she laughs it off constantly. I've pulled out my own teeth. I've done my own fingernails. Yeah, go ahead, whatever you can do. So it shows her just, again, how tough she is, how severe. And we do this in order to illustrate the strength and terror of our antagonist. And it's done so beautifully because we get this establishment of Dottie, of how tough she is. And if you're looking right behind Rob right there, the moment that Whitney presses, she caves utterly, completely, and instantly. It's like, it got to the terror of her being raised in the program and everything that taught her the fear. It's just again, it's a beautiful use to me of that Hovey, of somebody who is so tough. You use them and you show how tough they are so you can show the antagonist. It's why Hulk gets his butt handed to him at the beginning of Infinity War. It's why, if you're watching The Bad Batch, why the big guy gets knocked out by Fennec Shand by, again, we'll do another Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. reference, by Ming-Na Wen, in one hit with that show. You got to have the tough guy to show how tough the antagonist is. And after this, Whitney is just the instrument of terror, the monster, which she, of course, then proves again at the end of the episode with Anna. So let's kick things off with you, Corey. What was your take on the darkness? Again, we have fun a couple episodes ago, and this is like the darkness being brought, literally.
Yes, I mean, at first I really enjoyed that we got to see a bit of the psychological manipulation and mind games that Whitney is playing, because we see how they're playing like cat and mouse with each other, and we're not sure which one is which at first. And Dottie's playing all sweet. She's like, yes, I empathize with you. We've both been through the same thing. We've both had things taken from us. And Whitney agrees. She's like, yeah, film and my life took away like my innocence and everything. So that just made me think like, oh, did she sleep with someone to get a job? Or was she raped? What happened there, right? Like, we don't really know. And then Whitney has this great line where she's like, Dottie says, we're in the same.
Okay, look, folks, she changed her web browser. What more do you want, tech gods?
That just shows, sorry, we're in the same boat, and we're not even in the same boat. We're not even in the same ocean, was the quote, I think, where you lost me.
Yeah.
And I love that because it just shows that
All right. Comcast is just messing with us.
Okay, I'm back.
Point. There you go. Okay.
Hydra doesn't want me to talk about this, apparently.
All right. Well, let's move on. Rob, why don't you... Oh, no.
I'm back, geez.
Okay. No, keep going.
Okay, I was talking. I wasn't sure what you were picking up from me. So yes, we have that mind games they're playing, and she says, we're in the same boat. And the response is, we're not in the same boat. We're not even in the same ocean. So that indicates that Whitney is just so far above where Dottie is. And then she mentions Elsa Cook, the witch of Bucharest, which is a line that Dottie pulls out. But Elsa Cook was actually the wife of a head Nazi, and she was the lady that would make lampshades out of the skin of concentration camp workers. So, yeah, very dark.
Lovely
very
woman.
Dark. Yeah. So, yeah. So they're kind of, using those kind of dark comparisons. And I guess talking about darkness as well, we have Wilkes is completely fine with killing Dottie. He has a line where he says, activate her switch and be done with it. So, not a good man.
Nope. A little darkness in him in many ways.
Yes. Yeah. And then I guess what else? I just have a whole bunch of points about Anna and Peggy and that. So that's about all I have at this point for the interrogations, like torture scene.
Mhm.
But as you said, yes, like Whitney as the heavy now, because we see in future episodes that her mafia boyfriend brings her in to help with some interrogation too. And Whitney is only going to keep Dottie alive if she is worth something to her.
Sure.
Which is that comment she says after she tortures her.
Indeed. Rob, what about yourself? What did you think on Monsters? Again, a lot of darkness going through this episode. I think really one of the ones that hits hard, multiple ways of showing the danger everyone's in.
Yeah, because I think at the beginning they thought that they were doing the worst thing possible by taking the risk of bringing Dottie in. They didn't, this is like classic not knowing who the true bad guy really is, not knowing what you're really up against, and finding out that there's something worse than Dottie, who just is shown that she's just not on the same level as Whitney is anymore. And again, it's also like the unassuming thing, right? People, Dottie was used to being not, noticed, and Whitney Frost was playing the game of not being noticed. And having, this person who Dottie wouldn't consider a threat walk in and just, completely, flip the tables on her instantly is crazy. Also, just because we haven't touched on it yet, the device that Jarvis has that he can't get right because he's trying to remember the different measurements of different starlets. It's so great and just like so funny, but and of course it doesn't work. Of course, it doesn't work when we need it to work, but when it does, it's really, really fun. And that's the other thing is where, like, Jarvis finally in this episode, he's still been light and not taking things, seriously. Everybody, even with Peggy getting hurt with the rebar and everything, they all still come, plucky, coming right back, and they still fight the fight. And by the end of this episode, how devastated he becomes, and going into the next episode of watching, Whitney doesn't just hurt Dottie, who is a villain, but then just completely hurts an innocent. And it's Jarvis's wife. And that hits the audience really hard because we haven't even known her that long, but we know that because Jarvis is completely in love with her, and we see just in a short amount of time how strong that relationship is, that it's just a devastating moment in the show. And I honestly thought that was the end of her. I thought this was going to be like something that sends Jarvis maybe on a darker path. But it solidifies again how good Whitney Frost is as a villain, and how she just leaves the men in the dust. The men are chasing power, like a different kind of power. And Whitney Frost is basically trying to take over the world. They're taking over the world a different way. She's literally going to take over everything if she gets this power. And I also love how these guys are like, they immediately are just like, well, we got to bow down to her basically. But I always feel like they're plotting too behind her back. They're all waiting for their moment. You can just tell, like that they're just, waiting but they're too afraid. They're too afraid to do anything. And I really, really love all that stuff. Plus, we get a quick mention of the arc reactor in this. We had the mirror or the window with the arc reactor, but they also mention it again in this, which is nice. Again, they really like to throw the Easter eggs. They really like to throw the things that are going to mean something in the future, like we were talking about with the containment unit and everything. And it's just, this is what's so great about it, is just all the loving detail for the fans that follow both Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and follow the lore of Peggy Carter and Captain America, and just knowing this is how you honor the fans, is let them know that you care, that the product that they're giving you is something they care about enough to, reward the fans with these kind of things so that we can go, ooh, and talk about it in these videos. And it's just so much little details like that just make everything.
Well, I think that's the one that shows, and that's the nice thing about kind of where we are with comic book movies, is it's the people that grew up with them that are now the ones that are helping to make them. So in many ways, they're fans too. And, you can tell that many of them are looking forward to, we're just going to put this little thing in there. And like, people are going to lose their minds just seeing this in the background. And we do. It is kind of a fun, back and forth between the creators and the fans. I think that works really well. Don, did you have any thoughts on monsters here?
Yeah, definitely. So, obviously this was one, and like I said earlier, I'm surprised that Dottie wasn't willing to play ball with Carter and the team earlier, only because she had personally witnessed what Whitney Frost was able to do. I understand her not being afraid of Vernon Masters at all, because it's like, all right, who is he? You're not able to really do anything to her that hasn't already been done in the Red Room. Mm-hmm. But when Whitney comes in, she's up to like, we're just a leg, and it's kind of like, no. I'm sorry, if I would have seen Whitney come in, I'm folding like a lawn chair as soon as okay, what do you need to know? I mean, listen, she saw her absorb what 6 people, disappeared from the face of the earth. So I'm just like, yeah, I wouldn't have thought there was any way of talking myself out of that one. Yeah, but they decided to go in and get Dr. Wilkes, which honestly speaking, again, Marvel's sanitized racial politics. I'm surprised, he wasn't called, the colored scientist in this one. Joseph Manfredi seemed to be the only one that called him that. Well, him and Sousa mentioned it one time. I'm like, it's the early 1950s.
I think we're still like 1947 to 48.
Okay, well,
yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, all right, well, I guess maybe they don't want to throw that word around too much, but I mean, like, again, it's supposed to be, that time period. Like, I think people would have to be foolish to get upset about period pieces using the verbiage from the actual time period. So, yeah, that was one of those things that kind of, threw me aback just a tad bit,
Mm-hmm.
But then obviously them kidnapping Wilkes, I'm not really wanting to go, and then her shooting Anna, like, wow, just, I'm like, man, just, that was just cruel, just absolutely cruel for no good reason too. And it's like, come on, like you shot her knowing that, I mean, like, yeah, it's gonna hurt Carter, but not as much as Jarvis. And Jarvis is, he's just a regular guy who's caught up in this stuff that wants adventure. He wants to not be the guy sitting at home ironing Howard Stark shirts and having to remind him of which girl he got kidnapped by last week.
Right.
So yeah, interesting
Especially
episode.
I was just gonna say, especially considering that she tells her we're not monsters, like right before she shoots. Oh, we're not going to kill an innocent. We're not monsters. Oh, but we'll shoot you to slow her down.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, and that's seems like a thing that Manfredi would have done. But not so much Whitney. But Whitney was kind of like, look, she is the bad guy at this point. So yeah, I think she was just kind of like, all right, well, if I'm gonna be the bad guy, be the bad guy all the way.
Indeed. Yeah, I have to say, James Darcy's so good throughout all of this, and that moment where he finds out, especially because even before that, he's fiddling and he's nervous with everything he does until the moment he hears Anna's in trouble. Then he takes the machine, knocks the guy in the face, grabs the gun, and almost kills Dottie right there. Let's go with. I mean, it's a totally different person, and I love that shift in him. It's immediate. It makes total sense. It tells you it puts the topper on their relationship, which you already know, and it just shows how capable and dangerous Jarvis is when he's confident. Because he
or when
doesn't
Anna's in trouble.
Yeah.
This is what he did when he rescued her before. This is the kind of man he was.
Yeah, you could totally see that. You could totally see how he would risk life and limb to get her out. And at the moment where he comes up and finds her is just, oh, man, heartbreaking. All right, so let us now move on. Yeah, one last thing.
Comment. Yes.
Sure.
So we also get to see how Anna is sacrificing so Jarvis can go on these escapades. Like she says something about she needs you, like Peggy needs you, and I can see how much you need this adventure, but you must allow me to wring my hands from time to time, Mr. Jarvis. And it's so sweet. She's like, I know you really want to go on this golfing trip, so I'll let you go, but it's not a golfing trip. It's like a risking life and limb type thing. So for her, that's a big deal. And then she decides to make a Hungarian feast to celebrate. And that was cute. And Dr. Wilkes is like, oh, I've never had Hungarian food. Is it good? And Jarvis goes, and she leaves. I'm like, excuse me, I take insult at that. Hungarian food is very good. Jarvis
I loved her walking. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. I was going to say, I just loved her walking out as he's preparing to go. It's like, Mr. Jarvis, I thought a dark coat would be better for prowling. Oh, yes, sweetheart. Thank you very much. They're incredibly cute.
And then we also have the conversation between Jarvis and Peggy about her two suitors, where she says she never intended to encourage the affection of two suitors. And he just keeps driving her nuts, like, well, between Dr. Seuss's incandescent smile and Mr. Wilkes's, she's like, do you have something to say, or are you going to stop pecking around like an old mother hen?
Yes.
I love it. Peggy just calls it as it is, and she's like, listen, Jarvis, if you have something to say, spit it out now. Otherwise, yeah. So, and then we also find out, because Anna was a bit tipsy, she didn't pick up on the security warning when Whitney and her group broke in. So, sadly. Yeah.
Well, those are the reasons why Stark has higher security in the future. So, it's a step-by-step process.
And then they call Sousa to try to figure out where Peggy is, and he leaves to go help, and he's attacked by those two masked men, which are obviously Freddy's goons or Whitney's goons. And they say something about, you wanted to be a hero then, and it's a direct callback to a previous line that Sousa had said to Vernon Masters of, well, I'm no hero, but we'll do our best, when Vernon was pressing him to help find the uranium rods and things like that.
Yeah. Well, those were definitely, I felt those are Vernon goons. Where he got them from might have been Manfredi or one, but yeah, it totally felt like Vernon right there, especially since he's in the office as soon as Sousa gets up.
Also, Peggy kisses Wilkes. Like, let's just take that whole storyline out, please. That's it. Oh, and I didn't lose my internet. Yay.
Excellent. Good one. All right. Well, let's move on to the next. We'll keep us going while the momentum is playing. So we've got episode 8, Edge of Mystery, which is what? the first of the multiple attempts to try and kill Whitney. So yeah, there's attempts to go in, regather the dark matter. What's this King's example? Why don't you continue things on since we were kind of getting into that episode there, Corey? We'll hold you while the internet's still working.
Okay. So I'm just gonna jump right into the Anna storyline.
Yeah.
I love that, Peggy's thinking about the practical account. I'm gonna get a radio, I'm gonna get a shave, a razor, a toothbrush, so that when Anna wakes up, because she's going to wake up, you look like you don't look like, 3 o'clock shadow, stressed out Jarvis. And then is this the episode also where Rose stays with Anna, or is that the next one?
That is the
next one, right?
next one, when because that's when Jarvis has to leave and go do the driver thing. Yes.
And then I love when Anna's awake, but she's pretending she's asleep, and she's listening to all of Jarvis's promises. He's like, I promise you can get a Bernese Mountain Dog. I promise I'll wear that tie you knitted me. I promise that I will chew more quietly at the dinner table. Like, she's listing all these things. And just that scene where he realized she's awake, my heart it like breaks all over again, but it's so sweet. And she has the line of where she says, well, I was awake after the Bernese Mountain Dog, but I wanted to see what else I could get. It's just so cute.
You have to take advantage of those moments.
And then he's like, oh, I'll go get the doctor. And then he like rushes back and he like kisses her. And then he's like, no, I'll go get the doctor. Just like, oh, it's so sweet. And then of course the heartbreaking news where the doctor tells Jarvis that, they were able to save her life, but she won't be able to have children now.
Yeah.
And obviously that's something they had talked about. And then Jarvis doesn't tell her because he's trying to protect her, but he also later mentions that he doesn't have the courage to tell her.
Oh yeah. How do you have that conversation, especially when he's going to be blaming himself for the whole thing?
Yeah.
It is an important bit because it does give us our, the stakes. There has to be some loss. There has to be a price for these things, or we don't feel, the danger of it. And I think that's kind of Anna's perfect arc in here, is really illustrating the real danger and the personal cost that this type of life can lead to.
And I think once Anna has been injured, that's kind of when it suddenly becomes real. Like everybody's like, okay, you're going to shoot Anna? We're going to go talk to your mother now. And so they go and visit Freddie's mother, the Italian, woman who thinks that Peggy is the devil. And I'm like, well, I mean, you keep shooting people, she will be. So,
from her point of view, sure.
Yeah. So I loved that. I loved where they kind of basically said, we're going to meet you. If you're going to play high stakes, we're going to meet you at high stakes. And now we're going to bring your family into the discussion because, you've threatened our family. Okay, we're coming for yours. So yeah. And then we also get the first reference to the redacted file that Thompson gets in the UK, and he's pretending to be drunk, and that's how he gets the file with a friend from the war era. Like just a quick flight off for drinks in London. Sure. Yeah. And they're just going to hand over, a redacted file that's supposed to be secret. Just no problem at all, because somebody, like, that's a bit okay. And so he's digging up this dirt on Carter, that there was an incident that happened, and it says no civilians were spared from the massacre. Agent M. Carter of the SOE, and then the rest is blacked out in the file. And so I don't know, was that, what happened there? We don't know. We never find out because we don't get another season. All right. Yeah, they got to leave us with some disappointment. So frustrating. I also loved that they opened episode 8 by replaying a scene from season 1, where Jarvis was on the phone talking to Peggy about how to defuse the bomb.
Mhm.
And we see it from like Anna's perspective, or like Jarvis and Anna's perspective. And I love that she's coming home and she's like, "Hello, darling. I'm back from my art design class." And so she was going to a life drawing class, which is basically a nudes class.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Anna is so European. And he's totally cool with her going over there to the university and sketching, perfect male forms. He's all good with that, her female forms. So I thought that was kind of cute.
She adds the variety in with the life. She's got to have the wildness there for his straight lace. It's the balance they bring to each other.
She brings the spice, it's all great. Yeah, so I think that's probably the best of the best. I'm sure someone can pick up on the mafia boss Italian restaurant scene.
Yeah, Don, let's move on to you. Sure, we've got the Manfredi bomb scene. We of course got the building of the gamma cannon and the explosions in the desert, flying Wilkes, lots of fun stuff with this, and a little bit of payback.
Oh, just one thing. We have that final quote that I mentioned from the previous episode where Peggy calls Thompson out on his blackmail, and she says, "Chief Thompson, you don't need to cut corners to get ahead. You're better than that."
Yeah.
So take it away.
Perfect. Don.
All right, so this was a very interesting episode because you got Wilkes who's trying to still trying to hold it together, and now really coming to the realization that Whitney does know more about this zero matter than he does. And she's like, "Look, I've been timing you. I know how long it's going to take before you become before not translucent, but
intangible."
Yes, intangible. Yes. So
a ghost.
It's one of those things where she, definitely knows more than him, and he's willing to learn about what's going on here, despite the possible consequences. Which that's what a lot of scientists do. We see it in science fiction all the time, where they happen to be experimenting with things, and it's like, oh, but this is beyond what you should be messing with. But it's like, but is it though? We get the nice little scene there with Peggy and Sousa beating up on Manfredi's men. The thing I'm surprised that they didn't do though with Manfredi's mom, or I thought Nona is grandmother, but I don't know. She looked a little young to be his grandma anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised they didn't have any subtitles, because she obviously understands English. He obviously understands Italian. But if you don't understand Italian, you sit there wondering, like, okay, what is she saying to him right now? There's only so much you're gonna get from his responses.
Sure.
And perhaps I should have watched it with subtitles on, so this way I could have gotten a possible translation for what she was saying. They're building the gamma cannon, which is designed by Howard Stark and perfected by Mr. Was it Dr. Aloysius Samberly? And again, we have another instance of Samberly not getting the credit that he deserves. And Edwin, looking ultra disheveled in the beginning of the episode. Great work by James Darcy. And also the makeup and costume department, because man, I bought it. I bought it lock, stock, and barrel. I'm like, oh man, he looks like he's been through the ringer for real.
Yeah.
And so, when you see what he does later on, yeah, it's very plausible that he's, gonna be in the state of mind who's like, you shot my wife. We can't have kids now because of this. Yeah, you know what? I'm pissed. It's time for revenge. You know, so I mean, can we blame him? Can we truly blame him for his actions there?
No.
And Jack Thompson, proving that yes, he actually can play ball when he wants to, and he should play ball, a lot more frequently. So, I mean, yes, it was a scumbag move of him to go in and get that foul, but at least he had the good sense to know, like, you know what, this seems odd. So something about this just doesn't sit right. Like Peggy Carter massacring people. This seems very convenient here. That doesn't really sit well with him. No pun intended. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I wish we would have gotten to explore his character a little more, just to kind of see the man that he could have become. But, oh well. At least he had glimmers of hope, though.
True.
But
right.
damn it, why is he the only one giving Samberly any credit?
All right, Rob, what's your take on our Edge of Mystery?
I'm going to be real simple here, but I want to start with the gusto that both Sousa and Thompson have when they both say at the same time, "Do as Peggy says." Just yelled it. They shouted it. It was something that we wanted them both to say, and they said it with such gumption that it was one of the highlights of the series to me, is that moment of them realizing we both know she's right at the same exact time. Another thing is Dottie's gone. Like, that's it. She was there, and now there's no more Dottie. I mean, I know the show's over, but like, bye. Wilkes. Sorry, I mean, it's just, we could talk about that later, but Wilkes. The problem with Wilkes really comes out to me in this episode, where it's just the tonally with this character. I'm in love with her. I'm not in love with her. I'm in love with her so much that I got to do this, or I'm going to threaten
hold her
her.
at
I'm going to work with Whitney, and all all over the place this character was, that they just kind of kept moving him around whenever they really needed him to. It's disappointing, because he started out, to me, other than the romance, I thought I did like him, but it just, by the end here, where we're in episode 8, I could care less what happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh, I know that I put the gun on you because you would stop me. And even him going into the thing at the end, I was like, good, he's gone. Like, but then he's not gone, and it's like, oh, he's back. But James Darcy, man, again, I've said this before, man. That guy needs to work more, because he really, really brings it in this episode. He really, really shows a different side of the character. And I actually just wanted him to empty the whole gun in her, not just a couple of quick shots. I wanted to just see the real rage, because, I mean, look, we all know it didn't do anything. I just wanted to see him like that go really over the top of like, because it's just how much that, he wanted to inflict some pain. This person who's just kind of our conscience of the show, a little bit. and him just losing all that. I think I watched this with subtitles. I watch subtitles a lot because I want to make sure in my reviews and stuff that I don't miss dialogue or I don't miss like say something. I think that there was no thing for the Italian mother or grandmother in those subtitles. I think the gimmick is that us not understanding her means we have to imagine all the terrible, awful things she's saying to about our other characters, and his reaction to it is supposed to be like, so that we really go, oh man, she must be saying some really bad stuff. And there were a couple of words that you could kind of understand where she's going with it. But I thought that stuff with Manfredi, again, he brings a nice bit of levity, even though he's a heavy, and he gets to be a little bit, what they talk about in some of the notes for this show is him and Whitney being compared to Lana Turner and Johnny Stompanato from the. Sorry, I had to say it like LA Confidential.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Is their relationship is very much like that, like the Hollywood starlet who's got the mafia goon as like a boyfriend. I thought was a really nice touch throughout this whole thing, and getting Ken Marino to be that character really makes sense if you look at it, that relationship like that, because Stompanato was a charming guy, deadly as hell when he needed to be. And so I really still like more of that. The Gamma Cannon, I just kept thinking it's the precursor to Bruce Banner's experiments and things like that, and all the ways that that's going to go. But the stuff with Wilkes really kind of bugged me in this, and it kind of dragged the episode down for me a little bit, just because I still don't understand what his real purpose was, and it kind of makes me feel bad for the actor who, was in almost every episode of the series of the season, and they just kept changing his motivations just too much.
Yeah. No, I agree. You're right. It just at this point, you really had no idea where he was going, what he was being used for. He was changing left and right. Though, again, I'm going to say we keep hitting the James Darcy point. I know it would have been, I guess, viscerally satisfying for him to empty the gun. I still think him walking up and just shooting Whitney is the realest moment in the entire season. That he's not questioning, he's not anything. He's walking up, she's dangerous, she hurt Anna, boom, dead. The world's a better place. And that he just did it. I think is awesome. And we didn't bother about some, dramatic moment back and forth between it. It's just that is the moment. And I think it was perfectly served. Yeah, Corey.
So Jarvis needed a katana, not a gun, and he should have gone for the head.
Yeah. See, there you go. Should have gone for the head.
Tripod. So one thing I didn't comment on was when Jarvis gives Rose all the things to take care of Anna. And he's like, here's her favorite blanket. She likes listening to this kind of music. He's got this whole suitcase full of things. And then I loved how strong of a character Anna is, because she looks over when they're playing hangman. And she knows Rose is just there to keep her distracted. And she sees in the mirror of the suitcase, the little vanity mirror, the will and testament on top of the suitcase of James Darcy, of Jarvis, right? And it's dated for that date. So she knows he's going to probably do something rash, but she doesn't freak out about it. She just is strong and calm. And I love her character so much.
Indeed. No, and it is the perfect balance for Jarvis in this. All right, so we got 2 episodes left, a little song and dance and Hollywood ending. I want to kind of roll the discussion into both of those where time is going, just so we've got a little bit of time to talk about where we were hoping things would end up going at the end. I'm not going to spend too long with the beginning of a little song and dance because I hate it. We had a discussion earlier about who loves the dance sequences and who does not. I am not necessarily a huge fan in randomly inserted musical numbers. I'm sure other people will spend time talking about that. The one thing I did is I wanted to kind of throw these together because in some ways, while the endings of the show feels a little rushed, and I think that's almost how they wrap up Whitney's kind of storyline and where she goes. On the other hand, it also feels like they take 3 episodes to try and stop her, and it just starts to get almost a little repetitive to me. Again, which is odd where you could say it's repetitive but also rushed. Can feel weird. The one moment I did want to talk about in this one, we get Carter supporting Samberly. You know, I believe in Samberly and he could do. Thank you, Carter. It's nice to hear that once in a while. Vernon showing how manipulative he can be no matter where he is. I don't need to do anything to you because if I go down, we have enough dirt, we'll take each other down. I mean, it's a perfect political ploy, which I love for the character. But I have to say, I have to agree with Jack on this one. Jack, I think, had the right mind to blow up the gamma machine after that whole scene inside the waste product when he kind of like just gives up Vernon perfectly. And it's like, all right, I'll wait for you outside, and goes to blow it up. I was totally with him. I was like, yeah, man, Jack's on it. And I know we got to save Wilkes. And so we can't do that. And it adds that extra layer of danger. But I got to say, this would have been this like kind of a perfect ending as well. Though later on, we do get Jarvis hitting Frost with the car and explaining that why he just took out a 2-time Academy Award winner, that she's going to be okay. But, you know, we get Stark. That's all and exciting. I just wanted to throw in, I support Jack in this move on just blowing them all up, and nobody would have missed anyone. Rob, let's start with you. Why don't you go in for our song and dance and Hollywood ending? Take your time.
Okay. Well, we both agree that we don't care for the song and dancing. And I guess I was wrong. I was wrong. Dottie does have a little cameo in the song and dance, which is a nice goodbye, I guess, to the character. But also we did get Angie back, which was nice. Mm-hmm. Fonseca comes back for this little moment. Look, I know that a lot of these people, they've trained in song and dance, and so it's nice for them to be able to cut loose and do something like this. I don't like it. I don't begrudge anybody who does. If it wasn't for the fact that I just was afraid to miss something, I would have skipped it. But that's just personal choice. That's personal preference. It's personal taste. And I just keep forgetting to mention it in the file. It's I think they're kind of alluding to Peggy's kind of blowing it off as to when she looks at it. I think it's about her brother and not actually about her, because they have the same initials, I believe. At least the first name or something like that.
His name is Michael.
Michael and Peggy. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Or Margaret. No, because it's Michael and Margaret.
Yeah.
Margaret.
Yes.
Oh, yes. It's there. Yeah.
Yes.
Because Peggy is her like nickname.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think when she saw that, she looked and was like, this isn't even about me. I'm not going to even dignify this with an answer. But as far as everything else goes, like, I love Stark coming back, Dominic Cooper coming in, getting him back to be just, we needed to have him back. We needed to bookend it like this. I love that they were at the old Hollywood studio again, fitting again for the LA, ending this arc of the story, and everybody working together. And yes, what happened to Vernon was so fitting. And I mean, again, I can't believe I'm going back to RoboCop again, but like he needed to have an ending, like a vicious ending, just like you've kind of like been holding on. I've been holding on to that guy. Like, it wasn't enough how he died in RoboCop. Okay. he needed to get blown up. And again, like just because Kurtwood Smith is such a great actor, you want the great kind of bad guy to have a great ending. Yeah, Wilkes being, like they resolve the Wilkes stuff, and it's just whatever. Again, it's missed opportunities because they were checking boxes. Whitney, just it was kind of almost pathetic at the end. We kept going through the same thing. We're using the same weapon. We got to lure her back to another location where she just is overtaken again by the power of what's going on, so that it just kind of happens. And the real, tension there was how many of our people were going to get sucked in there, after the fact. That's where I felt. But then we get to see everybody work together. Everybody that had problems with each other or, grievances or whatever, it's finally time to like really team up.
Mm-hmm.
And just to make it shorter, because I know everybody's got a lot to say, yes, Daniel Souza and Peggy kiss at the end, which is nice for what they were doing. And since this is the end, fine. What we know about what happens with Souza later, doesn't really affect this at all. Jack Thompson getting shot and left for dead was I did not remember that, and so I was like floored. My jaw was on the floor. I was like, oh no! This started to feel like Twin Peaks season 2 finale, where they just started all these cliffhangers that you're never gonna hear the end for, and I was like, now I really want to know what happened to Jack Thompson, the guy who's finally becoming a good person. And it's like a character on Lost. Just when you get redeemed, you go down. And I'm just like, oh no, and just the future, what could have been. And that's all I'm going to say, so we can talk about the rest of this and give everybody else some time.
All right, Don, you're up next, man. What's your thoughts on our final 2 episodes and the wrap up of we'll say season? We'll move into the series later on.
So listen, I didn't have the issue with the dancing and singing as much as others on the panel did. Look, at this point, I know it's going to come up sooner or later, so you just kind of got to roll with the punches. But then also, look, it didn't take up that much time, and it was a dream sequence. We've all had weird dreams where stuff happens, and you wake up and you're just like, what the hell was all that about? So yeah, I was happy about that. Now, I wasn't so much taken with the way that Peggy kind of treated Jarvis, only because she was there and saw, what had happened to Anna. Now, yeah, granted, she didn't know the full extent in terms of like they wouldn't be able to have children, but like you saw the gunshots that Anna had to endure from Whitney Frost. So I mean, yeah, can you blame him? Really, Peg? Like I understand, but remember, Jarvis isn't a soldier. You can't expect him to really keep his wits about him the same way as someone who's had years of military training and experience. He's a civilian that's caught up in something that's over his head.
Yeah.
He did serve in the war. Jarvis did.
But was he
an attaché?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure he was actually a soldier though. Kind of like excuse me, like Peggy's ex-fiance. Like Peggy's ex-fiance was a military man, but he wasn't a soldier, as opposed to her brother, you know.
Right.
So yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, I wasn't I wasn't thrown off by his emotional outburst. It's expected given what he's just been through.
Yeah.
Wilkes, on the other hand, again, uh, kind of wasted potential with the character. I'm not sure that they knew what to do with him. And honestly speaking, yeah, Rob, I'm gonna go with you on this one. It kind of seemed like he was there to check off some boxes. It was like, we didn't have any people of color in season 1 at all. Here you go. So this way we don't get any threatening emails about people wanting to boycott the show for only having all white actors or something. It's like, it's the 1940s, okay? I don't care. It's the 1940s. Yeah, if it was the 60s or 70s, maybe you might have something to complain about. But it's America in the 1940s. It's to be expected. I'm sorry. So yeah, it was one of those things where I'm like, I don't understand what he's here for, other than to be the guy that we know has no shot with Peggy. Like, other than that, I don't know what he's here for.
Oh, that's the winning line right there, man. That is the winning line right there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. And how is he like? How is he in his like 30s and has no facial hair? I'm sorry, I don't trust any man over 23 with no facial hair. I'm just no, I can't do it. All right. Yeah. Look, the funny thing though, Manfredi and Stark actually being friends.
Yes.
That was one of the things. Was like, he comes and he's like, "Hey, you don't come in a man's home and take his butler hostage." And then I forget what Manfredi's. He said something about like his underwear or something like that. Don't steal the other man's skivvies or something. And I was just kind of like, I have totally forgotten about that. So I was just like, the hell is going on here? And looks at everybody else's faces, just like, wait, what? What the hell are they talking about? Then next thing you know, they're hugging and all that. And he's like, oh man, because he's like, let the man put the condiment down. Oh man, listen, but you know what? Hey, I gotta admit, I like mustard, so yeah, I probably would have said the same thing if I was in Howard Shoes. It was also interesting as far as the whole thing with the zero matter was concerned. I mean, Werner Master's getting blown away, like literally just like there was nothing left of him at all. He was just gone, just absolutely vaporized. But the fact that Whitney was able to just absorb everything after that, I was like, ooh, okay, this is interesting. She risen like a zombie out of The Walking Dead, and it's just, like, yeah, you guys are sitting here, shooting at her. You should know that doesn't work already. Run, okay, run. And Daniel, if you can't walk, then maybe someone needs to do the fireman carry or something like that, and carry him. But yeah, that was just kind of weird with that one. It was like, you just seeing her absorb all of this zero matter, and you're deciding, okay, yeah, we're gonna try to shoot her. No.
Again.
Like, do you people ever learn? Seriously.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Yeah. So I mean, that was one of those things where I'm like, okay, whatevs. Look, Jack. I remembered him getting shot. I didn't remember the exact circumstances. For some reason, before I rewatched it, I thought it was Vernon Masters who wound up shooting him later on, but obviously, that was wrong. We have no idea who shot him, and took that file. And what for? Feige, Feige. Hey, Feige, you listening? This thing on? Huh? Hey, Feige, bring back Agent Carter. Okay, do it. All right. So, I wish Samberly and Rose would have gotten a happy ending together. That didn't work out. Wilkes got a job, still didn't get the girl. He never was going to get the girl, so I have no idea, what that was even. It's like, what the hell was he there for? Seriously.
Did he have an arc at all?
He is with Howard, so he's probably going to meet a lot of girls.
Yeah.
But he didn't really have a character arc through the season, did he? He didn't really evolve, change much.
No, not really. No.
Okay.
Let's see. Joseph still obsessed with Whitney, even though Whitney is obsessed with her old life to a certain extent. And that was kind of crazy when he brings her the flowers and the orderly's like, you can't give her those. She's like, well, why not? It's like, because she's just gonna try to claw her face with him. I'm like, wow. So did she buy into the whole thing of her being more beautiful with the scar? Like, that's kind of crazy. Because before that, remember, she was trying to cover up her face, so that nobody would see it. And it was Joseph who was like, oh, no, this is, I think you're more beautiful with this. But now she's obsessing about her husband. I'm just like, you mean the guy who tried to, have you put away? That guy? Yeah, so this was there was a little bit of confusion for me towards the end with how they wrapped up some of the storylines. So, I mean, ultimately, I wish we would have got a continuation. I mean, the last two episodes weren't bad per se, but they did leave something to be desired.
Sure. Oh yeah, I can agree with that. Corey, what's your thoughts on our final two? I know you enjoyed the dancing sequence more than we did.
I was just going to comment on Will's question about the mirror scene where she sees her previous husband. I assumed that because she absorbed all those people, their subconscious was in her mind. So she had multiple personalities or talking. So that's why she could have that conversation with him in the mirror. And he was telling her oh, there's my beautiful girl or whatever it was. So she's kind of gone off the deep end. That's what I assumed. I also wasn't sure if the reason she was clawing at her face was to try to get to the dark matter, thinking it was still in her.
Right.
If she could just release it. So I'm not sure. So the song and dance thing, the two things I thought were interesting is that when Jarvis shows up in Tails, the three girls that are with him is the dance, Vegas dance girls. Mm-hmm. That's Anna and Dottie and Whitney. Just kind of neat.
Good catch.
His girls. And also that Daniel Souza doesn't have his crutch. So I kind of read that as that's how Peggy sees him. When she sees Daniel, she doesn't see his disability like everyone else. And then I like a song and dance number. So there's that. I have like 7 points here. So the first one is, it was nice to see Jack as being really helpful finally. So when Vernon sends those guys to shoot them out in the desert, it's Jack's idea to play that game with them of, arrest them. And then there's like a fight scene that goes down and they are able to escape. So it's nice to see him sort of playing with the team, playing ball with the team. That was nice. I liked the argument that Peggy and Jarvis had where she says to him, "You have begged me to take you on my adventures and larks. And then you go home to another man's mansion and your radio shows blissful in your self-imposed ignorance. And when there is a consequence, you blame me for the choices you have made. Yes, Mr. Jarvis, there is a cost. When I have paid hundreds of times over, you can go on in your life knowing nothing of loss. Lucky you." Which really speaks to what Peggy's gone through.
Sure.
And never really talked about. And then Jarvis has this bomb drop comment afterwards of, she can't have children. Anna. Even Anna doesn't know because she's married to a coward who can't bring himself to tell her. And that's the kind of conversation that allows them to, make up and be friends again and understand each other. So that was a great and really heartfelt, powerful scene. I also love that Anna, even with everything that's happened to her, is still protecting Peggy and still encouraging Jarvis. So she has, she calls him immediately on it saying, "You are not being truthful, Mr. Jarvis." And he says, "But I am being honest," which is a callback to what he said last season where he tells Peggy, "I may not be truthful with Mrs. Jarvis, but I'm always honest with her."
Yeah.
And so I thought that was really sweet. And she calls him out. She says, "Who does Peggy have? Only you. I will not debate this with you, Edwin. You must try to render any assistance you can." So, she's the one that kind of sets the tone in the house. She's like, "Nope, you have to do the right thing." And then I also liked, what was it? Peggy has the line of, "I'm standing with the 3 most radiant minds in the planet. When you can come up with a solution." And then someone says, I don't remember the character, but someone here I have written down is saying, "I believe we can hear their egos growing." It's probably Jarvis.
Yeah.
So that was great. And then Stark's trying to flirt with Rose, and he comments on her perfume. He's like, "Oh, your fragrance is quite stunning. What is it?" And she's all bubbly and embarrassed, and she's like, "Oh, it's Rinso." And Rinso, if you don't know, Rinso is a laundry detergent. So he's commenting how he likes the smell of her perfume, and it's basically the laundry detergent she uses on her clothes, which I thought was just perfect. Stark's not going to get far with her. And then I love that Thompson actually gets the lunch orders, which is a complete flip to what was happening in the first season, where he was telling Peggy, "Hey, Marge, get the lunch orders," right? And now he's like, "I'll go get the lunch orders. What do you guys want? Sandwich, whatever." So I loved that because it was a great flip. I love that we find out that the pin is actually a key. So that's why everyone was trying to get this pin. It opens something. What does it open? We don't know. So, and then Peggy mentions "You're a good man, Jack." So I love that even though all of the crud he's put her through, she can still see his potential.
Yeah.
So that was great. What else? Last few comments. Anna. Even at the end, she's still sweet and forgiving and loving. Peggy says, "I didn't think you'd want to see me after everything that happened." And Anna says something about, "I am home and I am safe and I am with the man who I adore and is in one piece. What would I be upset about?" And it's just like, oh my word, Anna, you're too sweet for this world.
She really is too sweet.
She doesn't hold anything against Peggy. She's just like, "I'm going to look at what I have instead of what I've lost," which is a great lesson for everybody. We need to look at what we have instead of what we've lost and be thankful for that. And then we have the final kiss at the end and the sort of ending of you only need one compelling reason to stay, Jarvis tells Peggy. And then apparently online, there's been some chatter about the last scene where Thompson is shot. Mm-hmm. And some people let leak, whether or not it's true or not, that the person that shoots Thompson in that last scene is actually Michael, Peggy's brother, and he isn't dead, he's alive. And so that was going to be season 3, was going to be following what happened to Michael, why was he listed as being killed, how is he still alive, and why is he shooting Thompson to cover something up? Possibly because Thompson got the file that was actually about him, not about Agent Carter, Margaret Carter. It was about Michael Carter.
Mm-hmm.
So, who knows? True.
Well, I think that's a perfect transition into our expectations on season 3, because as we know, a couple months after the episode aired in May, they did end up canceling the show. So any hopes for season 3 gets dashed. While they do leave our hints, our cliffhanger with Jack getting shot. I do want to make one little note before we move on to that. The fact that they built Whitney up as such a formidable antagonist, and they throw her in the loony bin as a crazy person that can't acknowledge reality, really didn't sit well with me. Whether she absorbed the people around and she's doing some sort of, graviton, we'll make a reference there, sort of a conversation, or it's just her own insanity manifesting in. I mean, you can go either way. I just thought that it was such a weak way, especially since we end season 1 with Dr. Faustus being all jowled up and locked. And sure, he goes in and we see him with, God, I keep wanting to say Zemo now, but it's throwing me off, with our he's Swiss, not German. I can remember the
Zola.
whole thing. Zola, thank you very much. I knew there was a Z in it. They leave him in jail with that, and that's kind of like the wrap up. We put him away. It felt very similar, like, well, we're done with this. Let's just put her away in a thing where she's not. And I don't know. I didn't really like the why did she snap kind of thing. I thought it really undercut the strength of the character.
But is she really going to stay there? I mean, is she just plotting her escape with Hal and everybody else? Like, she's a smart woman, so... is she crazy, or is she going to get out? Is she going to pull a Dottie or what?
Well, they could
think so.
That could be the thing they explore. They could have explored in 3. For me, how they left it felt a little bit more like they're just warehousing her for maybe later, maybe not. But yeah, they obviously drop a few things, and there's a lot of speculation and an idea. Was Jack actually killed? Was he just shot? Is part of his recovery going to be in season 3? Is it Michael that's there? Was that Dottie that shot her? Was trying to protect Peggy by taking the file back in some ways? I mean, again, we lost her. So just as we're about to wrap things up, what are your guys' kind of expectations? Did you have something you were hoping to see in season 3? Was there rumors that kind of sparked your mind? Or was it really more along the lines of, hey, man, I'm happy with what I got. If you're going to give me more, I don't care what it is. We have some chat in the discussion in the chat talking about hoping they could have done more about the Cold War, which would have been cool if we actually get really more of the foundational layings of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think would have been great. But what do you guys think? What were the expectations you guys were hoping for 3 or were thinking about might be what's popping up in the next storylines? Let's say Rob. Why don't we start things off with you?
Well, if going off of what Corey said, if they were going to do something along the lines of who shot Thompson and bring back Peggy's brother somehow, I'd still say, well, first off, if there was a season 3, it would. I wonder how that would have changed Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 7, and if at all. But going into season 3, right, with the writing on the wall, that if they were picked up, you would probably looking at season 3 as being the last season because it was already struggling. So realistically, they'd be like, okay, let's give them one last little. We need to fill. We're going to still fill the time between Agents of Shield, break. We need to do this, but we're going to end it. So what do you do with that last bit? And for me, I think I'd like to see a bit of a time jump. Not too far, but not, like put us into like the 60s, maybe, or in the late 50s, and really establish the real beginning of Shield. I wanted to see Shield, not the SSR anymore. I wanted to see and still incorporate like the mystery of Jack and maybe show some of that through flashback. Like, sure, maybe Jack got shot and maybe it was her brother, but that doesn't mean we have to answer it like the next day or the next month. It could be something that like all of a sudden years later she finds out her brother's alive and that he was the one who shot Jack. I just would have liked to have seen, even more interesting characters and what Stark would be up to at that point in his life. Maybe even talking about how he's going to be having a kid soon, that kind of thing. Well, that was like in the late.
They hit 70s? That in Endgame. Yeah.
That was like 70s. Yeah. And other than that, I mean, I just wanted to see Shield start. Also, the whole thing with Zola and the guy that they left him with. Now, see, that to me sounds like the start of something. Whitney in the loony bin, that to me is just a done story. I agree she should have been put somewhere way better because you just don't know. They'd probably want to experiment on her, test her. Is the zero matter really gone? Instead of just putting her in a home, a very nice place for loony bins. Because back then, nut houses, not to be, cruel about sounding about, but nut houses weren't known for being that nice of places where she'd be sitting there by a nice window, able to, engage in her fantasy life. She'd be sitting in a rubber room, or she'd be sitting in a room on the floor with about 50 other women. They Hollywooded up that whole scene. So I think she'd be done, but I would like to see what Toby Jones maybe could have brought in, make Zola be the big bad for season 3 as their starting Shield, and Hydra coming into the, starting up the whole Hydra thing, being inside Shield right from the get-go. We could have that wink and nod that they're already there, and that's all. I wanted to see the world building that would develop into our Agents of Shield, and the beginning of the MCU, to where Shield would start and all that stuff. So that's really all I had as far as character stuff. Look, I would keep saying that I'm not that into the relationships of Sousa and Peggy or any of that. I like the mutual respect they all have. I would have liked to have seen Thompson grow and Sousa grow and Peggy grow and Jarvis grow, all these characters, and just see where they're at, and Shield. So that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think you hit a good point. It would have been really cool to see what are the circumstances that would make these two go, let's pull Zola out of jail and bring him into Shield. I mean, because stuff had to go wrong for that decision to be made, and yeah, that would have been really interesting. Don, what about yourself? Did you have any thoughts on or expectations for season 3?
Obviously, the continuation of Sousa and Peggy's relationship, conclusion of what happened to Jack Thompson, because I heard a rumor about him still being alive after. Yeah. So it was like, okay, well, I mean, when I had first seen it, I was like, oh man, they just killed Thompson. Damn, this is kind of crazy. But again, they killed the chief in the first season, so hey, one chief can die, why can't another one, right? Do they go back to New York? Do they stay in LA? Do they maybe go to Chicago or Miami or something? Like, was that going to be a thing where every season they're in a new location. Um, you know, do they bring Rose and Samberly along with them? What are going to be Howard Stark's next exploits? Because again, he's kind of based off of Howard Hughes, so we know that whatever Howard Hughes. Oh, so you know what? That means probably season 3 would have been in Vegas because after Howard Hughes
Yeah.
kind of became a recluse, he went to Vegas. He bought like a TV station and all that, and you know had them show whatever he wanted all day. So there could have been a thing where maybe Howard Stark became a recluse for a little while, and they're building up the nightlife in Vegas. Who knows? Uh, and then also again, remember the mafia was big in Vegas as well, so you could have still even had the involvement of Joseph Manfredi as being like one of the top guys in Vegas, but he's partially on the side of the SSR, but he's still a crime boss. So yeah, there's so many things that they could have done with the show that Feige, hey, you listening? Yeah, listen here, guy. Okay, Carter, season 3, do it. Disney Plus, do it. All right. Let me have to tell you again, Carter, season 3, Disney Plus, do it. Feige.
All right, Corey, why don't you help us wrap up? What was your obviously you'd mentioned in the Michael potential on storyline. Was that what you were really hoping that you would see, or was there something else that you wanted? Where did you want that to go?
I really had just an open-ended sheet of where are we going next. But one of the interesting ideas or speculations was that the person who actually shot Michael was Bucky, and that it was one of his hits. And so that would tie back in with the doctor who's currently in prison and the Black Widow program and what's happening in Russia. So that would link Dottie back into things for season 3. And then there was an interview on EW, Entertainment Weekly, and they spoke with the executive producer, Michael, I can't pronounce his last name, Fazica, and Tara Butters, who were both on Agent Carter. And they said we did not kill off Jack Thompson. This is a direct quote. We shot him. That was our intent. And then they said the person who may have killed him is not related to the Council of Nine. It's not for the reason you'd expect. It's unrelated to them. So it's not that storyline. It's a new storyline. And then about the redacted file, they said you have to pay close attention to what exactly we show in that file. What you see there is some sort of massacre, but we don't say specifically by who. And then they asked, could it actually be Peggy's late brother? Potentially, and they say potentially. So
it's kind of a cool callback to the season 1 where they had Stark in the file that oversaw the massive massacre that ended up being just the use and that got him all upset because it was an unauthorized use. So it's kind of an interesting, it's like, yeah, it's another file, this other massacre that this person's involved, but we know what happened last time.
Yes. So yeah, it's quite interesting. And then they continue, like it's a longer interview. It's quite interesting. They talk about like why Jarvis was willing to shoot Whitney and talk about Howard's character and sort of things teasing what might have been in season 3. So I mean, I thought it would be very interesting to find out that Michael's alive and why. Why, like, did they just assume that he died? Was he declared missing or declared dead, but there was no proof? I think Rob looks like he has an idea he wants to share. Do you want to jump in?
For some reason, the character of Union Jack popped into my head.
Oh, okay.
The British Captain America.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
And it would make sense considering that Michael is introduced in this season. If he was introduced in the one episode to be the setup for the storyline for the next season, and like you said, Michael Carter, Margaret Carter, M. Carter, who is that about? Think, connect the lines. We're going to get the string now. Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna be like Phil when he's scratching into the walls. It's gonna go crazy. But I mean, I think that would be really neat. Whether or not Michael's gonna be a negative character, like, did they do testing that might have been a type of Winter Soldier on him, or does he become like similar to a Steve Rogers with the alternative British captain?
Right. They had to fake his death in order to cover his new identity.
Which apparently Marvel is looking into that character for future stuff. At least.
Well, I believe in What If we will have a Captain Carter.
Yeah.
You know, what if she took the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers? You know, which is kind of leading into a Union Jack. I think didn't even Dum Dum make the joke last season?
They should call her Miss Union Jack.
Miss Union Jack, yeah.
She's like, don't even know. but there was like a separate male character, as Rob was saying in the comics, that was basically the equivalent of Captain America, but he's the British version.
Yeah.
So, you know, Michael could become that character possibly. And even if we don't follow that train of thought, because it doesn't look like they're making season 3, but we'd love for them to make season 3. There may be somebody else filling that role down the line.
Just give us a movie, you know. Give us
there you
hour,
go.
Just a
7
movie.
seasons and a movie.
Yeah,
Season
the movie.
We're gonna bring the hashtag back. Yeah, Gravel in the chat was thinking that they may have saved Wilkes for season 3 as well, but of course we never got one. But he does agree. Yeah, bring back Agent Carter. Which I think we can all pretty much agree on. All right. Well, I think that,
In the interview, they also said they hope to bring Whitney Frost back.
Okay. And that could have been an interesting type of thing. I like your thought there, Don, about Vegas and bringing Manfredi and stuff back, going in through there. That would be kind of an interesting, and having them kind of playing both sides in there would be really cool. All right. So I think that pretty much obviously wraps up our Agent Carter season 2 and speculation on season 3. Want to thank everybody for joining us in the chat. Singravel joined us. Envy Warren was in the Rich Room as always. Barbaro Silva Surfer Devontae Smith popped in for a little while as well. To everybody joining us in the archives, really appreciate it. If you did enjoy these reviews, please hit a like button, hit a subscribe button. In fact, subscribe to this guy right here, subscribe to this guy right here, and subscribe to this girl right there. They all got awesome content that they are bringing you. And I'll throw some links in the description when I get a chance down to do that, to where you can find them all. They're going to tell you about that in just a minute. But before I go, do want to remind you, next week, Loki is kicking things off. We're going to keep this time slot Thursday night, 6 p.m. Pacific. Corey and Rob will be joining me next week for kicking things off. Don will be rotating into week 2. We'll have a listen. It's going to be a great group coming in, discussing this show. I'm hoping they go timey-wimey, full-on warpy. Really looking forward to seeing what they're going to bring. So, everyone, tell people where they can find you, where they should subscribe. Corey, let's kick things off with you.
Okay, you can find me on YouTube at Soothing Scriptures. You can also find me on my author page, which is CL Shoemaker. And then I also have Literature with Charm is my main webpage.
Excellent, excellent. Don, where can people find you?
You can find me at A Dawn of Ice and Fire. You can find me on the Hypes Watch. And mostly nowadays, you can find me here being the guest on these reviews.
And we love having you, man. All right, Rob, what about yourself? Where can people find your awesome reviews and Let's Play? Currently, this man's going through Mass Effect Legendary Edition. If you guys love Let's Play videos, you got to check it out. Rob is a hoot to watch to play.
Yeah, we just platinumed Mass Effect 1. We did both. We're doing dual playthroughs. So we're playing a male shepherd who's a renegade and a femme shep who is a paragon. We finished both playthroughs in less than a month. We just started Mass Effect 2, which it's just such a lot of fun. That's one of the best games if you love narrative and character. Smirking Gun Plays is the Twitch channel name. You can find me on that Smirking Gun Reviews right there, where we're about to finish the Underground Railroad. We are doing The Handmaid's Tale. We are going to be starting a whole bunch of stuff. There's that show Kevin Can Go F Himself on AMC. We're going to be talking about that show, amongst a whole bunch of other things. But and we're so close. We are only 60 subscribers away from 2K. So we got that little march to 2,000 subscribers almost there. So, when we hit that, we're going to be doing the 2,000 subscriber live stream where we're going to be doing all sorts of weird stuff. So come join the channel. Come look at all the content that I got. And yeah, that's it. Watch me smirk and use my neuralizer on you if you don't like it.
See, it's full service reviews. If you like them, great. If not, he'll wipe your memory anyway. So what do you got to lose? Go subscribe. But in the meantime, thank you everyone for joining us here. And we look forward to seeing you hopefully next week and coming up in August-ish, season 4.
Yay.
All right, Joe. Thanks so
Do what
much.
Peggy says.
That's
Yes.
right. Do what Peggy says. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Take care. We'll catch you next time.